It's no secret that nowadays, when it comes to actually filming content for Airsoft, that no longer are we just allowed to use a head cam. Now people expect not only, of course, a run cam for zooming, of course, which is the scope, or even just zoom footage to be able to see where the BBs are landing, where they get hits, which, again, is good for referees who want to see if someone has been cheating, or see if a player was cheating, not calling their hits, and just overall ruining a good day of play. But nowadays, you have to have several other cameras. There are the extremes, of course, where there are people who have over-the-shoulder cameras, they have the first-person camera, they have the run cam, which is there, and the big one, the selfie cam. The selfie cam being actually somewhat prevalent. And from my knowledge and from what I've seen of Airsoft YouTubing, came about around 2015-ish? I can't exactly give a definitive when the first selfie cam footage started making its rounds on the Airsoft YouTubing scene. Those of you who are my Airsoft historians could actually let me know in the comments section. So when was the first introduction of the selfie cam? Let me know down below. But the big thing about it, though, is that most of the time we had to do some crazy DIY to make a selfie cam work. There wasn't that, oh, this will work on the gun. It's more of, I gotta duct tape this damn thing on, or we had to do some kind of crazy mounting for it. There wasn't a specific mount built for mounting cameras on the guns themselves. Now, my first mounting, of course, when doing a selfie cam, was a hodgepodge of using a bicycle mount. You'd think I'm joking on that, but no, I'm not. This is actually it right here. This little hodgepodge I've done is literally a bicycle mount that I had done, and literally this is it painted up. This is everything I have. Honest to God, this was my selfie cam mount for the longest time. And then, of course, there was the other quote-unquote selfie mounts that I've had over the years, and they weren't dedicated selfie mounts. In reality, they were bike mounts that didn't really do all that well of a job, and were put on the barrels of the gun and not the actual handguards or anything of that nature. And then I started doing a little research and found out that, yes, there are dedicated mounts to be mounted directly to the furniture of the guns themselves. The first one I ever owned was from Fiatchi, and they sent it to me to actually review, which I'm actually happy for. My first dedicated mount is this, a Fiatchi M-Lock just dedicated M-Lock camera mount / Picatinny rail. This is the way it looks. It's shortened. It basically is able to take GoPros or any of our action cameras. However, the big thing about it is that you could probably see this bent a bit. There's a reason to that, because the way this is designed, it's designed for the Chinese knockoff action cameras, not really dedicated GoPros. And when you try to push it through, and you can see the screw in there, I hope, right there. I had to put a nut on the end of this, so that way when I screwed it in, the camera would stay in place, because even without the nut on the end of this, the camera would still move. But the results for it were actually pretty good, especially when they were mounted on my M4. It worked, and I did like it, except I didn't really have a dedicated selfie camera. That is going to be remedied in the future. I can assure you I'm going to try and buy either one of the more affordable GoPro cameras, one of the affordable action cameras on Amazon to do testing with, to do a video with. But that's neither here nor there. Today we were talking about another camera mount. As stated before, there is a wide range of different camera mounts, and you're probably seeing them on screen right now. One of them I actually do have, and is, from what I've seen on YouTube, actually used by a few amount of YouTubers, including Novrich, including Alphonse, even Shiloh actually has it, or Silo has one as well, and from what I've seen, I think Swamp Sniper has one as well, I believe. I don't know if it's a different mount, but it's essentially the same one. This mount being the NC Star Keymod Picatinny and M-Lock mount. Now, fair warning, this thing came in a clamshell of a packaging. But the big thing about it, though, is it's designed fairly well. It's all metal. It's actually sturdy metal, not pot metal. It is adjustable. However, the mounting here I would recommend to replace with a metal mount. Just saying, you know, replace that with metal mount, as well as what I'm going to be doing in the future. I'm going to be getting a lot of metal screws to replace the polymer ones I have here. I'm going to be replacing all my mounting points with metal mounts, so that way they're more durable and they can survive point of impact. But the cool thing about this is that the screw that is used to hold these mounts in place is adjustable for any sort of angle you want, and the threading is big enough to where it won't slide through unless you pull it to this point here and you pull it out, allowing it to be, in a sense, reverse-sided should you want to use the M-Lock section or Keymod section right here. But me, I'm going to be using the Picatinny section through and through, because most of my guns have Picatinny. But the cool thing about this is that the screw head here is metal, and there is even threading on the bottom of it so you can actually thread in another mount. So that way you have not only a mount on top, a camera on top, but you also have a camera on the bottom. That's actually kind of cool. But like I said, I'm going to be using this primarily on the Picatinny side. Now, you're probably wondering why that is. Simple. Most of my guns have Picatinny rail, or they have M-Lock rail on it. The M-Lock itself, don't get me wrong, is good, but for some of the M-Lock I do have, it's not really that grand, because most of the M-Lock I do have is small M-Lock, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to get it on there, and I will probably replace these locks here with the smaller, more standard Magpul M-Lock, so, you know, just that's a future thing. But I've yapped on long enough. But before I do, the price tag of this thing is not really that bad, and by the way, I will replace this screw with a thumb screw, you know, just make it a lot easier for me. But the price tag for this is not that bad, and honest to God, it's actually affordable. If you want a more affordable, all-around selfie camera mount, or even a mount to have to be pointing towards your gun, like have a selfie cam here and then have a run cam attached down here, it's actually not that bad, and it's actually kind of a cool idea. But I've yapped on pretty good amount. You're probably wondering how this thing looks on a gun and how it looks in the footage. So let's go ahead and get this mounted on a few guns so that way you can see what this thing looks like on camera and in action. Now, of course, as you saw with the NC Star's camera mount, it kind of depends on the angle of the camera you have, or at least the length of the Picatinny rail you're mounting it to. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this thing is 100% perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect mount. The mount works for the situation. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, how much weight can the mount handle? Can it, like, as you've seen a lot of videos where they do have their selfie mounts, a lot of them will actually use them as a way to hang their gun on and then climb over an obstacle or anything like that. We see this a lot with Novrich, we see this a lot with Silo, we see this a lot with Kicking Mustang, we see this a lot with everyone who uses these mounts as a means to try and, you know, hang their gun on something so then when they climb an obstacle, they can immediately retrieve their gun and be back in the action. Now, This is where I think I'm going to use my heaviest quote-unquote gun I have in my collection right now, which, yes, will be reviewed in the future, even though it is a... yeah, you'll see what I mean by that. So, using the heaviest gun in my collection, we're going to see if this thing will actually handle the weight of it. If there's any sort of bending, is there anything that's going to cause it to deform? Ladies and gentlemen, the heaviest gun in my collection is the Daniel Defense M4. Completely licensed with Colt trademarks and everything. The reason this thing is heavy as hell is because of the rail here, which just adds an ungodly amount of weight to it. Granted, that's for me. I'm not really one for heavy guns. Unless it's light machine guns, or medium machine guns, or heavy machine guns. But that's just me personally. Now, I'm going to just grab it by the mount itself, and we're going to see if this thing, if anything happens to this. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab it like that, and I'm releasing the gun now, and so far nothing. I'm not seeing anything. The screw is not loosening at all. I'm not feeling any tension in the screw loosening. The gun is holding. The mount, on the other hand, not so much, because it did turn, which means that's going to be your biggest issue. But from what I'm seeing so far, the thing is not trying to bend under its own weight, although just having it at that vocal point, my god, it feels like I'm lifting a weight. Dear god. But yeah, no, if you're going to do that, like I said before, I'm going to recommend you actually get a metal mount for the camera, metal screw, because don't get me wrong, I love the polymer knobs on these things, but at the same time, I'd rather have metal instead of polymer. I want to make sure that this thing is not moving, this thing is not going to get damaged, nothing bad happens to it. But while I have this here, I'm going to show you different ways to mount this thing, because I know a lot of people are going to be immediately saying, well, wait a minute, what if I have a flashlight on the bottom of it? What if I have a foregrip? What if I have the entire bottom rail here completely occupied? Well, that's no problem. All you have to do is, more or less, if I can get the thing undone here, is simply put on the top rail as such, like that. And then, if you need to, mind you, if you need to, there we go, nice and tight, you can put a screw in here where you have it mounted there, where you can have a camera on here, which I believe I do still have one of the things that can go on here. Give me 1 second, folks. And just like that, you have a two-sided mounting system. It is a pain, like I said, to actually get this to work well, but again, right there, it's mounted. Not completely straight. There we go, it's completely straight. That way you have a camera up here, you have a camera here if you need to. You literally have that right there, but at the same time, it gives you just that much more. You could still have your pack box back here, you can mount this however you want to. Again, just one of those things that actually does work really well. Again, just one of those things. Now, my overall thoughts on this mount is actually a little bit mixed. I like how it's designed. I like the whole idea of it. I do enjoy the modularity of the mount itself, allowing you to actually have whatever you want on there, whatever camera angle you want on there, have it to be able to do whatever. But at the same time, when comparing it to my first ever literal purpose-built camera mount for guns for my M-Lock, which of course is Fiatchi, there is something that can be said about it. The overall length for the camera is one I think we need to kind of look at. I mean, then again, everyone has their own personal preference and how far they want the camera away from the gun, and more or less just sort of that off weight, because that is something I think a lot of people need to understand, is that ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain. And with this, while yes, being of somewhat lightweight construction, same way with this, there is a key difference. You have the camera only out this far compared to having the camera out this far. Again, there is a huge difference with the point of contact and the angle for which the camera is at. This, you are going to have a lot, and your gun's going to go this way or this way depending on how you have it mounted. And it doesn't matter if you have it mounted on the bottom or the top. That weight and that distribution of weight is going to cause your gun to go off balance. And I'm not going to say it's going to affect you if you are used to having off-balanced guns, if you have the right foregrips or the ability to stabilize it. That's up to you. I'm just giving you a heads up of what it's going to happen for those of you who are new to the game. of making airsoft content and want to get a selfie cam mount. Again, with the Fiachi one here, it's purposely built just to be short, but not too short, to where it's automatically against the gun. It's at a point where it is actually decent. This, on the other hand, like I said, it's brought out that way. It is reinforced, yes, having 1, 2, 3 points of contact on the actual mount itself, while this one has a single point contact. While it has a thick bar on it, and more or less reinforced by being inside the Picatinny, there is still that issue with where it is going to bend, where it is going to still have that offset weight depending on how big of a camera you use. For those of you who want a good selfie camera, I'd recommend you go with the session style cameras. They're small, they're compact, you're not going to have a lot of issues with them, and it's not going to add that much extra weight. If you have to go with a smaller camera, the run cams are going to be your best option as well in terms of a good selfie camera. They do make mounts for them to be mounted on here with the screw threading from the actual knob itself here. Again, there are a lot of options out there for you, and I am going to try my best to try and review all those options in the near future. But with that out of the way, what do I think about the mount itself? The mount itself is actually solidly built. It's good for the price tag. It's a good, actually, I'm not lying on that when I say it's actually really good, dependable selfie camera mount, or if you need to, a run cam mount. Because again, you have that, there's that screw hole in here to have it set up like this, where you have a run cam here, you have your selfie cam here. Again, there are so many ways this can be ran, and it's actually a really cool modular system. For Keymod, for M-Lock, for Picatinny, this is a good choice for you. It's versatile, it's modular, it is so good for the price tag. And I would recommend any one of you pick one of these up for yourself if you want, well, a good selfie camera mount, or just something for running cameras that are not on the gun itself. Again, I leave it to you whether or not you think this is actually a good buy, and I'd love to hear your comments down below on what you think of this mount, or any other selfie camera mount that is wholly specifically built for camera mounting outside the gun. Thank you so very much for watching, and a big thank you to our supporters out there who actually make these videos possible, who donate to our PayPal. And if you want to come hang out with me and talk about this camera mount, or just camera mounts in general on guns, consider checking out the link down below to the Discord. And if you want to help support the channel, consider donating to our PayPal down below. And, as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been AirsoftAL, and let me know in the comment section down below what you think of selfie mounts. What mounts do you use for airsoft? And fair warning, you can't share links because YouTube hides those comments or outright removes those comments. So be careful with those links, or just say the name of the product down below. Anyway, thank you all so very much for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAL, and I will see all you lovely people in the next video. Till next time. Later.